My name's Ian Wise. I'm a QC at Doughty Street Chambers in London. I specialise in public law, and a lot of the cases that I do involve children and adults who've got autistic spectrum disorders.
And what are the key issues for families and individuals with autism that they're coming to you for?
The key issue for families when they come to me is a lack of support for the disabled person. Very often families will have been coping very unsatisfactorily in trying to look after such people for many years before they come to me. And you find that one of the key problems that they face is the delay in services being provided for them and for their disabled relatives as they generally are. And there's an incredible amount of frustration that I find that my clients have, in that the delays that take place, particularly with education, that can take years to get sorted out and getting the statementing process and appropriate schooling and so forth. And by the time that clients have come to me, you generally find that they're exhausted. They're exhausted firstly through having to cope with the very great demands that the disabled relatives place upon them, but also exhausted by trying to cut their way through the thicket of the various agencies involved. And what happens typically is that one agency passes the family to another agency, and so it's ping-ponged between education, social services, health and so forth. And it's a problem that we find continually in family after family. The lack of joined up decision making is really very acute indeed on the ground. And so many families are totally exhausted by the situation, and they only come to me generally as a matter of absolute last resort. And so what we try to do, we try to strip the case down, and find out exactly what the needs of the particular individual are. And time after time we find that there's been, despite agencies having been involved sometimes for years and years and years, there's no real assessment of what the needs of the disabled person are. And it's that assessment that's absolutely crucial to understanding what the needs are, obviously, but also critically how you're going to meet those needs and what support's necessary to be put in place. And so that's the starting point, and to try to get a proper assessment, and whether that's done through the agencies or independently depends on the circumstances of the particular case and how urgent the needs are. But there's overwhelming sense of frustration that I feel from very many clients.
And do you think the courts can play a role in preventing cuts to services for families and individuals?
Very much so, and they've shown that in recent months, particularly the Birmingham case, where there was very severe cuts being proposed by the local authority there to the most severely disabled people, including people with autistic spectrum disorders. And the courts did intervene, and the services that had been provided, the level of service that had formerly been provided, that is, has now been reinstated. It's not easy, of course, and it won't be in all cases that all cuts can be remedied by the courts, but it certainly is possible. And it's not just the cuts that the courts will address, of course, it's the legal obligations of the local authorities themselves. So, for example, the duty to do assessments, which is a basic obligation on local authorities and health authorities as well. We can get mandatory orders off the courts to ensure that they do that, which is a very good starting point at any rate for making sure the needs of disabled people are met.
And so for families who are struggling to get the right support, what steps would you recommend they take in terms of getting the right information and advice on where to go next?
Well, obviously they need to do what they can with the agencies themselves first. Generally speaking, that'll be children's services or adult social services. But if they are getting to the stage where they really do feel that they're being pushed from pillar to post and they're not getting the level of support that's needed for the disabled person, then they need to see specialist lawyers, and there are a few of those around the country that have specialised in this kind of work.
Thank you.